Hello, welcome. The name's Brad. Breakup Brad. In this video, this video is going to be a must-watch for anybody who wants to get back together with an ex. Why? Well, because momentarily you're going to learn a handful of powerful tactics that some of the world's top breakup experts teach to their clients to help them reverse their breakups. Now, obviously, I'm going to share some of my own best tricks here in this video. I hate to toot my own horn here, but my channel here on YouTube does happen to be the most popular breakup advice channel on all of YouTube, and my X Factor program is the #1 best-selling guide to getting an ex back. So, obviously, you're going to hear some of my tips, some of my most effective tips, and my tricks that I teach to my clients in this video. Now, you're also going to hear from a couple of other breakup gurus in this video, and some other relationship experts as well. As you may have heard me say in the past, some of my old videos, most of the so-called, breakup experts out there online are just looking to make a quick buck. But in this video, you're going to hear from 3 of the actual legitimate ex-back specialists, all of whom I know personally, and I can, confirm that they do actually know what they're talking about. So basically, guys, you're about to hear from 4 top breakup coaches, including myself, of course, and you're going to learn some of the most effective tactics that you can use to get back together with your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend.
Now, shall we begin?
If you want your ex back, then you can't let your ex actually know that you want them back. So, ideally, you should show your ex through your actions and your words that you're going to be, quickly able to replace them and move on if they don't quickly change their mind about the breakup. It's therefore extremely important that you don't seem too eager to talk with your ex. You can't really, appear to be waiting around, staring at your phone, just waiting for them to call you or text you. That kind of thing just screams, loser ex. So how do you make sure that you don't give off that impression? Well, one way is to make your ex wait for a reply anytime he or she reaches out to you. If they randomly, send you a text in the middle of the day, you could just wait till evening to reply.
5 hours later.
And then when you do reply, just, tell your ex you're sorry, you were busy this afternoon with some friends, hence the slow response. And if they call you, don't always pick up when they call you, right? Let it go to voicemail, and then just call them back, later that day or the following day, if you actually need to at all. Sometimes, just ignoring a text or call, if it doesn't, demand a response, is the best option. But at the very least, be sure to delay your replies and make it appear like you're super busy and you just don't have time to think about them anymore. You're just moving on with life. At least that's what's happening, unless they decide to take you back, of course. All right, that's the first tip. Let's move on to tip number 2 from one of the only true breakup experts out there that really knows his stuff. This is Chris Seiter. He's the man behind exboyfriendrecovery.com. And you can just click on the little box here to check out Chris's channel on YouTube after this video, or just see the description below for a link to Chris's website. All right, Mr. Seiter, hit us with your first tip here, tip number 2. And this is actually a really clever one that's based on real science. So let's hear it.
One of the best tips that I can give you is to actually utilize open loops in your conversations with your ex. The Zeigarnik effect really teaches us that people remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. It creates an open loop, and so when you, let's say you're texting your ex and all of a sudden you end the conversation prematurely, your ex is going to be more likely to react in a way to try to find a way to close that loop. They're going to try to find a way to continue the conversation.
That is a great idea, and I know that what Chris just said, it does indeed work well. I know that from personal experience. Thanks for the contribution there, Chris. And we will hear more from Chris later in this video. But let's move on now to tip number 3, just a quick one from Amy North. Now, Amy has one of the best dating advice channels on YouTube with well over 400,000 subscribers. And although she usually just works with women, she's got a tip here that's about calling your ex. And it's one that I really happen to agree with and recommend to all of my clients regularly. And this tip that Amy's about to talk about, it applies to both men and women. So guys, you can definitely use this tactic as well. Let's hear it, Amy.
A sneaky tip that I like to share is that when you do call your ex for the first time, do it at a time when you know they won't be able to answer, so you can leave a voicemail. This gives you the chance to show initiative by calling, but leaves the ball in his court to call you back. Before you pick up the phone, know what you're going to say in your message, and make sure it's lighthearted and thoughtful. As always, make sure it has a purpose. If after the beep you mumble a bunch of crap about calling to say hi or that you just wanted to check in, he's not going to be interested in calling you back. Instead, say something that will remind him of a great time you spent together. For example, you could say something like, "Hey, thought I'd give you a quick call to let you know that the season premiere at Parks and Rec is on Monday night. I figured you'd want to watch it since the last episode was so awesome. Anyways, hope all is well." Simple as that. Don't try to complicate it or you'll end up rambling.
Now, I've suggested something similar in my past videos here, and I talk about this a lot in my X Factor program, so it's definitely safe to say that I agree with Amy 100% on this one. Calling your ex for the first time, can be really tough, but if you have a good reason to call, and if you phone them when it's likely going to go to their voicemail instead of having them pick up, then that's going to make things a lot easier. Now, this is usually only effective in the first call to your ex after no contact ends. But Amy's comment, about having a good reason for the call when you do call your ex, that's always crucial, regardless of the situation. So, don't just call your ex out of the blue and say, sup. That's just terrible. It's not going to work. All right, and it's my turn here again, folks. Tip number 4 is a bit more of an abstract one, but it's possibly the single most important thing that you can take away from this video. One of the mistakes that almost all of my clients make when trying to get back together with an ex is actually related to their overall mindset. They waste far too much time worrying about what their ex is doing or what their ex is saying, instead of focusing on what actually matters and will help their chances of successfully winning back their ex. Actually, to prove the point, let's turn to a man here who's well known for dishing out hard-hitting breakup advice, and that would be legendary mixed martial artist George St. Pierre. Right. Okay. Well, George St. Pierre isn't really known for breakup advice. Actually, he's more known for punching people in the face. But he does something up nicely with this quote, which is focus on what you can control and forget everything else. And seriously, on this point, George is absolutely right. Think about it, right? How is worrying about your ex's latest Instagram post going to actually help you get them back? Or how is asking all your mutual friends about the new guy or girl that your ex is rumored to be dating? How is learning about that going to improve your odds of getting a second chance with your ex? It's not. So because it won't help you, don't worry about any of that crap. Be as laser focused as GSP, forget about absolutely everything outside of your control, and just stick to the stuff that matters and focus on the things that you actually can control. All right, and for tip number 5 here, we're going to go back to Chris Seiter, who's got another great one about the virtue of patience.
Another huge tip that I can give you is to not rush this process. I often find that slow and steady does win the race. So often people fall into the trap of telling their ex their feelings way too soon, of not following the actual strategies that it will take to get you from point A to point B, just rushing from point A to point B. That's a mistake. Be patient. Do not rush this process. If you do, you're really harming your chances.
Thanks, Chris. That is really great advice, and it's really important to keep it in mind. I tell the same thing to almost all of my coaching clients, and I also preach patience a lot in my X Factor program because it is key. Do not, be suckered into believing anyone who tells you that they have this magic potion that's going to, make your ex take you back with the flip of a switch. It usually does take time, and rushing things or trying to speed up the process is almost always going to just hurt your chances. Let's move on to another one of my favorite breakup experts for the next tip here, Jessica Boss. Now, Jessica's relatively new to YouTube, but I have worked with her for a long time, and she definitely knows her stuff. And the Jessica's tip that we're about to see here is about being productive during no contact when you're not talking to your ex. And this is something that a lot of people fail to do, even though it can really help change your ex's mind about the breakup. So pay attention to what Jessica's about to say.
Breaking up means you got more time on your hands now. This time can either hurt you or it can help you. You need to take your time to get over your breakup. You don't spend all of your time wallowing in sadness. If they wanted to end things before, Are they going to want you back now that you've spent all your days on the couch, elbow deep in pizza? This time is a gift. Take stock of your life. Ask yourself, how could it be better? And then take action. This could mean getting healthy, going to therapy, spending more time with your family, or taking on more responsibility at work. If you set goals and throw yourself into them, pretty soon you won't be thinking about your breakup. And seeing you go for your dreams will impress your ex and make them wonder why they broke up with you in the first place.
All right, now I know what Jessica said just sounds probably really cheesy and may not seem like it's actually going to help you and improve your odds of getting your ex back, but I promise you it actually will. All right, let's jump back to Mr. Chris Seiter for his third and final tip in this video, which is another great one. And this time Chris has some advice on how to get your ex to agree to an in-person meeting. Now this is something that's really a key step of my 3R system. And Chris, as you'll see here, has some great insight on how to make that meeting happen.
Another huge tip that I can give you about getting your ex to say yes to a date is by having you ask one simple question. What's in it for them? Human beings tend to be very self-interested. We don't want to do something unless we feel like there's going to be something in it for us. So one of the best tips I can give you about actually asking your ex on a date, if you're in that position, is to slow down and think about what is it that would make him or her want to show up to this date. If your ex is a really big, book person and their favorite author is doing a book signing, maybe try to set up a date around the book signing so that they can actually show up. Maybe not necessarily if they're worried about seeing you, but they'll show up to see the author that they're in love with, right? And you can just insert yourself in and work to improve your situation.
That is excellent advice. Thanks, Chris. And like I said, this is a tactic that I also recommend all the time to my clients. You really need to have a good, well thought out reason when you want to meet with your ex, when you do pitch the idea to them. It's always easier to provide a simple, believable reason why you want to hang out with your ex or go on a date with them, like some of the examples that Chris just talked about. And this ties nicely into tip number 8, the final one for this video, which is from yours truly, of course. And it relates to that date or the in-person meeting with your ex that we just talked about in the last tip. One of the crucial things that you need to do when you get to the point where you're starting to hang out with your ex in person, whether it's for a coffee date or a drink after work, like Chris was talking about previously, or any kind of, further in-person hangout sessions with your ex after that, the key thing is to build attraction. Flirt with your ex, build sexual tension, make them laugh. Did I mention flirt with your ex? It's critical. Now look, a lot of people misunderstand what I mean when I talk about the importance of building attraction with your ex. It's more than just physical attraction that I'm talking about here, although that is part of it. But what I'm really referring to is rebuilding natural, organic attraction on a physical and emotional level. You want to make your ex want to be around you and hang out with you, and you want to make them remember, why they first fell in love with you, that kind of thing. Now, this is critical if you do ever want your ex back, and flirting is the easiest way to rebuild some of that natural attraction. And make sure that when the time is right and you're confident that your ex is going to be receptive, that you touch them every now and then, tease them, move in and get a little closer when you're talking to them, and just sort of do all the same things that you did back on your first date. Don't get frazzled, don't act awkward, just be natural and slowly but surely build up the flirting and escalate your advances. Remember though, you're trying to get back in a romantic relationship, right? And romantic relationships are all about intimacy, they're about touching, sexual chemistry. So that's the main goal of these kinds of in-person meetings, really. So get your flirting game going whenever you're with your ex. All right, bonus tip, final bonus tip that's going to help you a ton. We'll call this tip number 9, and that is subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, as well as the channels of the other breakup experts that I've featured in this video. All of them, Amy, Chris, Jessica, are great sources of reliable advice on getting through your breakup and getting a second chance with your ex. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have links in the description below for each of the guests as well, so you can just go down there and click on the links if you want to learn more. And of course, at this point, I really do want to say a huge thank you to all 3 of the guest contributors that I've featured in this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this sort of different format of the video, and hopefully you learned a few things as well. As always, leave your comments and your questions below. I will do my very best to get back to you personally if you do keep your comments brief. That's it for now, folks. I am Breakup Brad. I'm signing off here. Thank you very much for watching.